All right, people, we are officially in a bear market at 94,000 at the time of the recording of this particular video. But we're going to talk about what is the next possible time you can look to buy in. Don't really want to buy in right now. We can go down, down, down. Want to give it some time. Yes, there might be a slight rebound, but I don't see a giant rebound anytime soon. But there are certain macro events that are happening soon that could get you buying again. The bear cycle usually lasts about a year or two, and we usually are at bottom around, at least for Bitcoin, around a year after the halving, but altcoins sometimes keep dipping for like 2 years or even more. So we're also going to talk about why the next bull run could be totally epic, and there is actually a good reason for that. But let's talk about what are some buy dates that you could look at. The next FOMC meeting, I believe, is December 8th through 9th, and they're probably going to at least lower the interest rate by 25 basis points, possibly 50 basis points. Now, I do think 25 is baked in, but I think 50 will give us a boost. Probably not much of one, but it might boost us past 100K. And alts will gain about 10% before falling down again. So if you want to leverage on that 10%, or you want to just buy spot and then sell on that 10%, be my guest. I don't know if I technically would, but that is one spot where you could possibly look at buying in. And that's only if they cut 50 BPS. Now, I think 7 of the governors said they would cut 50 BPS, and that might actually be enough. I think employment numbers behind the scenes are pretty bad. So there is a very, very good chance they will cut 50 instead of 25, and that will bring the interest rate down to about 3.25, I believe, getting towards 3, and that's kind of like that critical marker where people might go in from bonds to crypto. But that's obviously not guaranteed because the economic situation is shaky and people generally do not want to buy crypto or risk on assets during a shaky economy. But if interest rates are too low, if inflation does creep up, which it has a very, very good chance to do right now, you have a combo of those two things. People may not actually have too much of a choice, and they might want to have assets that actually beat inflation, i.e. they might actually buy crypto. Yes, the ETF demand has actually collapsed. XRP ETF did launch decently yesterday. It was pretty much the same as the Solana ETF in terms of actual volume. You have about 58 million on the first day of the XRP ETF versus 57 million on the first day of BSOL. They both got like 200 something million in actual inflows because of their in-kind redemption, but those two are very, very similar in terms of volume. However, it did not boost, just like the Solana one didn't really boost the Solana coin up. XRP ETF did not boost the XRP price up. So you can't really look to those ETF inflows to boost their respective coins up during a bear market. Just like in Bitcoin right now, there's a lot of outflows, and I think there's going to be a lot of outflows from those ETFs as well. And plus, their demand is just not nearly as big as Bitcoin or Ethereum. So December 8th through 9th is the first FOMC meeting. So if you actually want to bet on that, December 5th or so would actually be around the time to buy. You want to pre-buy it by a couple of days because they might pump right before, and then when they actually cut, it actually might dump. But a 50 basis point cut will actually help risk on assets. Will free up that money and liquidity a little bit. Will get us back, get us pretty close to 3%. And I don't think they're going to release the labor numbers this month, but I think they're pretty bad. So that's also why I don't think they want to release the labor numbers this month. So the next day after that, the next time after that would actually be in April or May of 2026. And we've talked about this before. That is right before Jerome Powell gets the pink slip because Trump is not going to extend. And Powell's pretty old anyway, so I don't really know if he wants to extend another term anyways. But he is going to be out of here, and he's been really, really tight with the interest rate cuts. Trump's guy is basically going to do whatever the hell Trump tells him to do, and Trump has signaled that he wants 0% interest rates or 1% interest rates. Now, long term, that would be very bad for the economy. That would actually grow inflation. Also, this is around the time I think the stimulus check might actually come. He's been floating a $2,000 stimulus check. It could come before Christmas, but most likely it's going to come close to the midterms towards the summer of 2026. And in that summer of 2026, with a $2,000 stimulus, which is not a lot of money, but it will help some people, and maybe some people will put it into crypto, and lower interest rates, you could see a potential pop in the price of Bitcoin and alts in the 3 months of maybe like late May, June, July, August, before it devastatingly dumps down. Now, I'm assuming that people will spend some of the stimulus on crypto. I've talked about this in the last video. It's not going to be nearly as much money as last time because most of the money last time actually came from the PPP loans that so-called businesses could actually get. Now, Justin Sun got those business loans, so they didn't really have really good oversight over who could get the PPP loans, and it got kind of ridiculous. They won't have that this time, so about 80% of that money is not going to be there, but there's still the 20% that's actually the stimulus, and they might use that stimulus to buy crypto. I'm going to guess that's going to come in the summer. Now, it could come in September, right before the midterm, just to remind people that, hey, I'm giving you this money, so vote for me type of thing. But realistically, like even if that comes, it should give us maybe a 10-20% boost. And then obviously, because he had to print money to actually give us the stimulus, inflation is going to go sky high. I think the GOP overall is actually against the stimulus, but Trump might really, really want it just to boost up his approval ratings, which are pretty horrible right now, before the midterms, so his party can actually get more votes. That'll definitely increase the debt. That will definitely like increase inflation. But for a short-term political gain, you might or we might get that stimulus. I think the stimulus is only going to be for people under like 70 or 80K income. Not really sure if I'm going to get it at that point. I'm not sure how many of you will get it. But I think most of America is actually below that threshold right now, at least for single people. So we will actually, well, some of us will actually get it. Me, not really that sure, but I might get it. I might get partial. I don't know. But that money for me is probably going to go towards like an Airbnb for a vacation or something. But some people might actually buy crypto with it. Now, barring that, the next time you want to buy is probably towards the end of next year in November or December. Remember, the last couple of bull runs, we did kind of bottom like about a little over a year after the bear market started. And if it's bear market right now, it basically started on October 16th. That's when we peaked at 126. We peaked in November last time, and then we kind of bottomed out in like December after the FTX fiasco. So I kind of expect us to bottom out like after Thanksgiving or maybe like in December of next year. And that's when you could buy some Bitcoin. Now for altcoins, I might actually want to wait a couple more months because remember, altcoins didn't really stop losing against Bitcoin for a long time after Bitcoin stopped dropping. So you might want to stock up some Bitcoin, after December of next year, and then for altcoins, wait like for another year or so before converting into altcoins if you want to look at that altcoin strategy, because I think that's kind of what actually works the best. So that's the third buying period. Like that's essentially end of next year. So you got about a year. Now, like I said, DCA or whatever, if you want to play leverage, margins, perps, that's perfectly fine. Open interest will actually remain high in crypto because there's a lot of gamblers doing leverage and perps. That's perfectly fine. I wouldn't do it myself. I think it's very, very risky. If you're doing that, I am actually going to start having an affiliate program with Blowfin, so you can like look at some of the Blowfin stuff. I also have the affiliate program with BitUnix if you're not in the United States. So the other thing is why the next bull run could be totally epic. Because this is the first bull run where we'll actually have altcoin ETFs. Now, we know this time why Bitcoin really, really outperformed the other coins, and it was really the only one outside of BNB that actually had a real bull run and reached new all-time highs that were significantly above the last all-time highs because it had an ETF. Ethereum did reach an all-time high, but and it had an ETF too, but I guess there was just not as much demand for that Ethereum ETF. But it did actually reach an all-time high. Basically, the top three, Ethereum, Bitcoin, BNB, reached all-time highs. BNB is really controlled by Binance, so you really can't compare them to anything else. XRP obviously got the pump, didn't quite get to 392, which was the last all-time high. And it did actually get an ETF, but every coin at this point is getting an ETF. Most of the top 20 are going to have ETFs next time. So they should get that rush of money, the same as Bitcoin did in the next bull run. And that could be around 2027, 2028. Or it could be sooner if the 4-year cycle is completely broken. So the thing is, like, the next bull run might be way, way better than this one, because this one sucked, by the way. The next bull run might actually be much, much better than this one in 28 or possibly 29. So that's what we have to look forward to. I know it sucks that we might have to wait for 2 or 3 or 4 more years, but that's just kind of how the crypto cookie crumbles. Hopefully it's only 1 or 2 years, and then the big institutions will start buying Bitcoin up. And after the big institutions start buying Bitcoin up, the other ETFs will actually react, and they'll pull the rest of the market up too. We still have, like Cardano ETFs, Polkadot ETFs, Doge ETFs, random ass meme coin ETFs to actually look forward to. I think most of the top 20 will indeed have an ETF by this time next year. And then the next bull run, just like Bitcoin, those ETFs are going to get money. Because you can look at both the Solana and XRP ETF. They've actually attracted a decent amount of interest. And it doesn't take nearly as much money to move those coins up as Bitcoin or Ethereum. I think BNB is also going to get an ETF because, Trump's in office. And he's going to grant CZ an ETF because he just pardoned CZ. So, hell, why not, And Tron's probably going to get an ETF too because they have relationships with Justin Sun. I don't really know how the next administration is actually going to deal with all this stuff, but it might be a little too late to actually reverse it because everyone's going to be so entrenched. And when people are entrenched, the inertia is very, very strong. So that's the news for today. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe, hit that bell notifications button. Thank you and have a nice day.